So I was just talking about that IFC, export IFC button. It's fantastic. It really is fantastic. And then also everything is interoperable. It's actually make-believe, okay? That doesn't happen. I was hearing all the stories yesterday about things working or not working, and it was kind of seemed really quite relevant to Australia. The reality is, of course, the opposite, virtually the opposite of all those things. No models are perfect in Australia. You know, if you're imperfect, you're welcome in Australia. Some are geo-referenced, some are not, and that's kind of always a bit of a challenge when you try and combine things together. And as you can see there, all those other things, the circumstance. Quite a lot of files are just still IFC 2x3, which people find works, but it doesn't work in the full extent. Okay, so that's a reality. So what's the context that contractors deal with? They take responsibility and control to amend project models. And of course, that's a challenge because models, often the data is incorrect or incomplete. They have to add properties for actually doing worthwhile things on their projects because designers don't add a lot of those that information. Geometry needs to be split, as we know, to be able to connect it to tasks and activities. And so that's a kind of something they need to do as well. Our models have to be then adapted with the site data, so then they then connect it into site-controlled machines and so on. Hopefully, they can actually access models on site for getting dimensions and finding information out about the project. And we've seen some projects where there's been a push to have no drawings. So being able to access models and get dimensions on site. Site capture, be able to bring information in to explain reality and show reality. And then, of course, contractors need to add data to provide asset models. So in that context of all those sorts of things, how can buildingSMART help? Well, of course, there's all the different standards and services that we're all familiar with, the first chunk there. But I think another side that we can do as buildingSMART is provide examples of what good looks like. And so that's sample files, things like IDS files, connections to BSDD and so on. And I think the buildingSMART Awards help to highlight what good looks like. And hopefully in the next couple of days, there'll be presentations like that. And the awards tomorrow night, we'll see some really striking examples, which I would like to see us publicise together as a group. In the context of all this, there's probably, I think, at least 5 areas where buildingSMART could start to help guide contractors, because I think some large contractors, in Australia we call them tier 1 contractors. I don't know what they're called in other places, but large contractors have a lot of capabilities in-house already or have developed their digital skills over the last probably 20 years. And in a case like this, I think there's a need for buildingSMART to assist tier 2s and tier 3 people in the industry to actually start on the digital construction direction. So there's 5 kind of areas there that I'm proposing that we contribute to help people in the contracting industry develop. So minimum modelling guidelines, I think this is pretty straightforward, and I suppose if a lot of people here use IDS and things like that, but it describes content in models, not just data with IDS, but also so geometric data, and then relationships. There's a guy in Australia that some of you know of, Dion Malt. He's behind openBIM and a free open piece of software. And Dion and I have had conversation about this issue that contractors face. And on his blog, he then created this thing called the openBIM Pledge. I'll talk more about that tomorrow. But the idea is to actually, how do we actually get better models across the industry for people to use. And I think the openBIM pledge is a kind of a simplistic, but it's a worthwhile thing that we could sort of discuss. Another area, use case management, and I know there's quite a range of use cases that exist, and there's a whole range of other activities that contractors do on site. And in that case, I think, when you see these things here, buildingSMART doesn't just address these only, buildingSMART addresses only part of these. For contractors to do a range of these on-site activities, that there is a need to actually use other software and other file formats apart from IFC. So buildingSMART can, I think, help to address part of this. And I'll hand over to Ricardo at the moment for some, to fill out the context of things they do at Ferrovial.
Yes, this is some content that Scott asked to present. This is what we are doing internally as a company, as a constructor company. Every company has their own software map, but we deployed an internal software map for doing things. We use openBIM, but we have to use proprietary software. There is not a whole software that can do everything. And that's where buildingSMART allows us to share data between different platforms. No? So this is our software map. We design many projects. We build some others. And we manage financial that has nothing to do with BIM, but we relate information between financial and models as well. And yes, please, the next one. Some of the use cases that we have from BIM are not the design ones. For example, simulations, and we use proprietary software again, but we incorporate IFC files from the BIM model. So it doesn't matter which software are we using to design, but we also export everything about IFC. Yes, this is more simulation. We also have 4D with Veljko, also using IFC. You can go to the next one. And most of and in some cases we do take off as well from different proprietary software, but as well we need to share information or files or data between different platforms and different software. For technology and to do progress delivery, because in construction there is an issue, and it is to be on budget and on time. We need to have excellence in delivery. And now, and yesterday somebody the people from Nemetschek talk about this, we are more and more aware about sustainability. And again, if you want to be more sustainable, you have to measure. Whatever you don't measure, you cannot improve it. And measure of carbon is linked directly to quantities, is linked directly to BIM objects, and linked directly to properties. And to do excellence or to improve delivery, you need to do progress monitoring, progress tracking. We use LiDAR, cameras, robots. We use drones. This many people think has nothing to do with BIM, but we are always checking all the LiDAR or the drones or the photogrammetry with the BIM models. Always, again, in IFC models, in open standards, because that's the only way to use the different software with different proprietary. The next is that more or less in advance to use mobile LiDAR and to use cameras with AI. Again, link it to the models in order to check the advance on the quality or to detect the advance of the things.
Okay. You're probably mostly aware of the use case management site that buildingSMART have. It's, I suppose, been transformed over the last little while, starting probably 20 years ago with IDMs and MVDs, and the way they've been merged together, I suppose, in the use case management portal. There are a range of use cases there, and that's just a filtered view. Sometimes they're quite extensive in the coverage, and when it comes to looking at what contractors do in particular, I'll just focus in on one of them. One good one that was published recently is for bridges, and the structure of IDMs now, use cases include IDMs, And so it's just a brief outline of the content of them, and probably you're mostly aware of that. There's descriptions on how geometry actually gets defined, which is kind of part of the data. And then when it comes to all the different areas that it addresses, there are kind of 18 there, and then use cases that come in at different times. So the 18 kind of areas there describe activities that are really quite essential. Part of this also is burrowing down to the actual geometric representations and the data that is needed. And I think this is where we really need to, for contractors to understand what data is available and will be available in the future. A process map is a good way of kind of seeing how information is shared and handled over time. And the bit inside the red box is really the data that is relevant to what contractors receive, handle, and then pass on. So just focusing on that little section, you can see there's design or tendered documents come in. They're then assessed inside the contracting company. Quantities are made, splits are made for construction planning, and so then it's handed on. These areas are the ones that I think we need to focus on so that contractors get the best advice and understand what they should ask for in the process. And in this case, there is a example model. So there's an IFC model, and then there's also an IDS. And that's just loaded up into Celebri just to show that it is a real model that can open up, and there are properties in there. So that's use cases. So minimum modelling guidelines dealt with use case management, and again, there's a vast area associated with that. Contractors, I think, again, not necessarily the top tier, but the lower tiers need to understand there are different sorts of models available. So in a case like this, they receive models, that's the first lot, they hand models on, but in the middle, they actually enhance and manage models. So there are kind of needs for conditioning models, adding data, slicing them up and things like that, integrating specialist models as well from subcontractors and seeing how things come together, enhancing models that they have with site data as the project is proceeding, and then also handing over models. So contractors, there's not just one model that they deal with, but again, there's this range of capabilities that they need to develop. Another area I think that we can assist on in the openBIM education, and I know buildingSMART don't offer educational services, but PCERT for recognition. But of the areas here on the screen, the ones in bold are the ones that are directly relating to information that buildingSMART create and make available. So there's all the other training providers and educational institutions that kind of do those other things. I think, you know, it's important that contractors take on that responsibility to actually educate their organisation and all their people. And I think the last thing there, quality case studies and information, because I think sometimes when people say, how should things be created, or where do I find out information from about IFC, we send them to a website which is kind of quite opaque. And often we as practitioners actually want to see something. We want to see related documents. So when it comes to what is a good IDS file like, what models are we able to use to actually assess, and so on. The buildingSMART Awards hopefully will then start creating a bunch of these things as well. Okay. I think that's about the end of my presentation. So we, I think, in the construction domain, aim to encourage contractors to develop in-house capability and get ready for the time when their clients will ask for openBIM capability. to advocate in their own organisation, but externally, and then part of the conversation about joining a community like this in demonstrating and showing what real capabilities are in the openBIM area. Okay, so I know there's a whole lot of other things that could be said. In sort of 20 minutes, we can't say a huge amount, but in terms of the actual context, I think the construction domain is kind of aiming to address a number of these areas. Okay, time for questions.
If anybody wants to make a question, just raise your hand. I will give you the mic. Or an observation or a comment. No questions? No doubts? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't see you.
No, it's okay.
No, but it's good to have because there are maybe people online, so.
Sure. Okay. First of all, thank you so much for the IFC5 support. What's your preview on this from Australian perspective and somebody who just got into buildingSMART within a year? I heard a lot about IFC5 versus
We have a terrible answer. We're the construction domain, not the technical domain. So that's one answer. I think there's quite a lot of debate at the moment in the buildingSMART community about where the direction is going. I think from our point of view, because 4.3 is the one that's published and an ISO standard, that's where our focus will be on providing support. IFC5, I think, is a conversation that may happen in other rooms. So thank you for your question, but you may not like the answer.
No, I'm trying to understand. Just to follow up, honestly, I'm trying to understand, not more than anything else. So just as a follow-up, the challenges from your perspective on 5 versus 4.3, is it more like about the cost of change? Is it like 5 missing, dropping some features that 4.3 is easier to handle?
Let's just say I don't think I'm qualified to provide a suitable answer for
That's
that.
okay.
There's probably other people in the room who could provide that kind of
Yeah, I
answer.
would love that.
I apologize on that.
No worries. Thank you, man.
Sorry.
People are excited about looking at IFC5.
Just to add
Okay.
a clarification about IFC5. So it's, of course, under discussion, and we will have the roadmap for IFC5 later on. It's about modularity. So it can fit maybe more for the construction industry later on. But today, we have the IFC 4.3 that it's like sustained, and we need to work with it, waiting to having like the clear roadmap with the community about IFC5. So, but IFC5, it's more about modularity, AI, and all the stuff. Okay, but it's not something that we have today. We have the IFC Alpha version, so to start having feedback from the community, but it will be developed to serve much more better the community when it comes to modularity and the other stuff of AI.
Looks good, the implementation guide. In the Netherlands, I helped like 15 to 20 general contractors to implement this whole openBIM stuff. So maybe if you need some extra inspiration or some help with this to create this, I will offer some of my time to maybe co-write. Or is that also a question to the audience, or is it what do you want with this discussion? Do you also want help from the audience to deliver this guide, or?
Well, if you see the limited number of people here and the vast task involved, yes, we would certainly welcome and value input from the community, because we're trying to implement this in our own, businesses as well. So if there's experience and expertise, absolutely, we'd welcome that. Thank you.
Yeah, then we can use that guide also in the Netherlands. We have kind of typical workflows in like what every contractor is doing with classifying work packages out of design models. And I think we should add, for example, that topic to.
That sounds good.
Yes, I think that would be a quite good input for the construction room. Maybe big contractors, big companies, have the levers not to do many things, but we also try to think of all of the thousands of medium-sized construction companies are just trying to embrace the BIM and how to do it. So all the examples that we bring from the expertise of others are super welcome. So thank you. So we'll get in contact with you later. Thank you.
Hello, Marta. Are you also thinking about the perspective of project teams on how they can foresee what they will expect from the contractors? What I mean is that it's important to model and create a culture among the contractors, but at the same time among the people that do the project, so they can envisage the expectations from one another, and what me, for example, as an architect, must do in order to attain the expectations of my client and the contractor, and that the information flows swiftly and without silos. This is important also to, in my view, to not only have a guidance targeting the construction companies, but the guidance should can be used by projects, architects, engineers, whatever, that are in the project, so they, at the early stage, prepare everything so it is coming easier for the contractors to read information. So this is kind of in my view, a cultural and something that must be seen as a whole. And this guide, in my view, and for now, an experience that I actually having now, is that I made a project using openBIM methodology, and I don't know what to expect of the contractor and what to demand of him, if I can say that. And he doesn't know what to do also, so he can use this information. And it's important to have that guideline. And I also, if you want, I can give some feedback on that regarding the architecture, for example.
Thank you for your comment. I'm an architect by background. I've stumbled into the digital world in a sense. I now do consulting for contractors. So I kind of understand bits of the two worlds. There's always been the comment about your models aren't very good for our purpose. And then the design consultants say, well, what do you want? Because you've never articulated that. And then when this long list of requirements come out, then the designers say, but that's not in our scope. So you're asking us to do a whole lot more work for the fee. So there's this tension. But I think so far there's been a lot of focus on creating models, but how you use them from the contractor side, there hasn't been as much focus. So I think if we're able to help educate contractors to know what to ask for and what they can use, well, then that will hopefully bring better conversations with the designers. But there's still that contractual thing. Designers create design models, They're not construction models. And that's why contractors need to have the kind of expertise and the understanding of what they need to do to slice and dice or to add data for their own purposes. And of course, they then hand those models on to someone else. So it's, and the point of an IDM is to hopefully show that information life cycle. So in that bridge example, the construction was just a slice of that. So I think IDMs, if they're well developed, and hopefully we use them as an industry and polish them up so they're really good, I think will help to bring knowledge, but also good conversations about how to work together. So yes, I'd value your input.
So, Marta, I think in this document that Scott has been presented, there were two main ideas. One is to leverage the use of BIM in contractor. In construction, we usually implement BIM because the client is asking us to develop an as-built. So we are several times very focused on the requirements from the client, very focused on design and to deliver the handover. Just to give an example of the quality and how much we can take from the BIM in construction. That's one thing. But the other is to explain the designers the uses that in construction we can take from the BIM and what are we asking a designer to give us, because many people don't realize how much we use from quantities or for surveyor. We use robots to do the surveyor, and the BIM requirements are different than the BIM from design. So this has the both ideas to leverage the internal use in contractor, but also to educate the designers in what we need during construction. Sorry.
No, good.
I would like to add some written of experience about like all the planning, 4D planning implementation in much more complex projects, in industrial ones. And it's all about the use case and the contracts, the requirements, as you said. And of course, the 3D model that we are receiving, even if they are developed in-house, they are not suitable to the 4D modeling. So we will need to edit the IFC files. We need to classify the IFC files following the construction path. So we need constructability team. It's about team collaboration. And we need this team in the early stages, not at the end. And now we are trying to put our requirements on the contracts and also for our internal team. Because for them, designing a slab can be from this point to another point, but we are not going to construct in the same way. So maybe in the next few months, we will have some specific requirements, not related really to openBIM, because industrial is much more complex to exchange all the data in openBIM. But about the methodology, about the IDM, it can serve as like a real use case that we are putting now in our contracts. For contractors, we will have, for example, site logistics. It's different than construction planification or simulation or scenarios. So I think it's about ISO 9650. When the digital use case is there, we need to have this kind of guidelines, how we are going to implement this kind of use cases when it comes to 4D planning, and then educate people is very important, how we are going to share our best practice in designing. And I know that I think IFC, we have the IT task, but really I don't understand how we can fill this information and when and who will be doing that.
If I may say so, thank you very much for emphasizing this. So I'm going to mention also a couple of things in my presentation, but it's really very important to understand that we need to adjust a model later, and that's one of the things very important for IFC. So that's the story. To go back to Hassan's question, also IFC 5 in the future to have incremental model, because I really don't want to update the entire model just because I sliced my slab and so on. So I just want to send this information, but I'm going to show you how IFC task and other things can be used, of course. Good, thank you.
Well, thank you for your questions and comments. Track us down, because yeah, we would certainly value your input. And I know there are questions come up after sessions, so certainly find us. So thank you for the presentation, and I'll hand over to Veljko for his presentation now.
So thank you, Laura. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Ken. Thank you all. So in my presentation, so just short about my background. So beside being construction domain member, I'm also a president of our national chapter, buildingSMART, vice chairman of European Association. Oh.
If you move the microphone closer.
Okay, good. So thank you, Scott. So and I'm vice chairman of European EFCA Association for BIM Digitalization Committee of Association of European Engineers, Engineering Consultants, and evangelist of IPMA, so International Project Management Association. So about Bexel, we expect to surpass trillion of total project values by the end of this year or in the first quarter of the next year. So have quite interesting experience and working primarily with the owners and developers and contractors. We have also designers and project managers, but the main clients are owners and contractors. One thing I would mention, we need to democratize. So I'm going to talk about use cases, what I as a contractor or owner want to see. And what I'm going to show you today, they're going to be around, of course, I'm not going to show everything, but around 150, 200 use cases. I'm also council member together with, for example, Ricardo on a anchored European Association of Largest Contractors. And usually average company has 300, 400 use cases. And it's by far most complex in terms of project management, human endeavor. So I'm going to show you just a glimpse of what I want. But what I want to mention in the beginning, as Najib mentioned, openBIM will not solve all the issues. We need a number of other standards and things in order to achieve this. To be satisfied, because we don't want openBIM, because we want cost-effective, time-effective, high-quality product at the end. That's what we want. We don't want, and so of course, safety, energy, consumption lower, but that's what we want. We don't want openBIM or IDS checklist to be fulfilled. That's not what we want. And these are just the tools and techniques which helps us. The next thing is we need to democratize usage. So I believe all of you here are experts in BIM, but it's not going to be adopted on site or by assistants in the office if they cannot make their inputs and get some benefits from this. The same goes for the top managers. So I'm going to emphasize also dashboards a lot, because top guys wants to see immediate information. If I need to wait for a month to see what are our delays on site, I'll say I'm going to go to the site and see it immediately, because I cannot wait for a month and then realize that I could do something better because it's too late. The same goes with tendering packages, with delay analysis, with, let's say, any dispute and issue. I simply don't have time, and I need to have it immediately and directly from dashboards. So the idea is, and that's helped us also, I can tell you, to 90% of our income is coming from our enterprise users. So it means that people who use from the top level up to the assistant level, because otherwise doesn't pays off if you don't have everything integrated and they are working in a different silo. So what are the key things we need? So I know we mentioned a lot of times ISO 19650, but basically it comes, and you always put these 4 stages, which I don't like too much, because we now change from common data environment to common document environment, and that's not the same, and that was not intention. So basically, what are the basic standards for our ISO 19650? 9001. quality. So quality is the crucial. Next, 55,000 asset management, and very important, what we usually forget, 21,500 project management. And we almost never mention this standard. This is a basis for our standard, and that's how it's developed. So what we need to have document management, we need to have information management, we need to have data-driven project management, we need to have business intelligence and dashboards, and we need to have AI. And these are all ingredients we want to have. I don't want to say we are going to have all of this, but that's what we want to have, and that's what we must use in order to be satisfied. Otherwise, you're going to just have a fraction of the benefits. So I know now this is very, very small, but I'm going to mention a few crucial things of this. What are crucial, important things as a basis? What I want as the owner of the company who is going to use any software, not just related to BIM. So first, I want that I'm the owner of my data, 100% of everything I produce. So if I use authoring tool, this is just the provider to me. Who create the building or bridge? I'm the owner. And all data I created, I can use, and only I can use. Only with my permission, the software vendors can use my data in their AI, not vice versa. Sometimes now we have in European Commission a big discussion. Sometimes they tell us, we can use the data, but you cannot. Even that is sometimes the case. So we need to be owners and must be the owners of everything we produce. If I create a perfect dashboard in Excel, is Microsoft owner of this or I am? I am. They are just tool which provided me a way to do. So this is one very important thing. A second, there is a myth. I can tell you my father used to have more than 40 years ago Oracle server for a national power grid connection in the company. And it was stored on their premises. 45 years, entire power grid network for a country. And it was run on 100 times or 1,000 times less powerful computers than we have today. I can give you an example. There is a myth. No, but you cannot host it on your premises. We allow users to host, also we have, let's say, Microsoft, I don't want to promote them, but other Azure servers we use. But you know that the company where we have more than 10 billion data rows in a single table is run on a server which is less powerful than my laptop. So it's possible, and with all AI and other things. So it's possible. And so not be worried, you need to ask, or at least have an option that solutions can be hosted on your premises, because then it's 100% you are on a safe side. That's everything really belongs to you. And so we strongly suggest this. So it does not necessarily mean you have to host it, but include in your contracts option, whenever I want, allow me to transfer, maybe for a small fee, it's fine. They need to do some job, but ask them to do that. Then we want to have also single source of truth. What does it mean? So whenever I change something in my TAC planning, I want to see changes in Gantt chart and earned value analysis. Whenever I create the clashes, I want to relate them to the subcontractors who see these clashes to the side. So I want to combine all those things, because otherwise it's not going to be efficient and not going to work. And next thing is, what is the best format? And I can tell you from IT perspective, so IFC is perfect, IFC 5 even better, but at the end we need to have it in relational databases, because it's by far the fastest way. So I can tell you from our clients, for they have 150 or 200 projects, to read all IFC files and to run a query, what is the concrete volume of concrete works I have in California next month, Hey, is it possible? Yes. It will take maybe a day to get the answer, but it's possible. If you have it in database, and that's what I wanted to suggest, relational database at the end as a standard to have. And that's, I will show you a number of dashboards now that allows you unprecedented level of flexibility and speed. Otherwise, and then who owns this database? You. So you just can connect this database with all other sources like SAP, I don't know, Primavera. I'll show you examples how with SAP and Primavera it's connected. So that's it. And you don't need to have API. Because API is very complex and each of us has its own API. No, just go to raw data and do the queries. Now, I don't want to mention some of you I know very well, but some of your IT guys came to us, just go into the very smart guys, analyze databases, and they found that features even our guys are not using. And that was for me really, I don't know what to say, it's opened my eyes because it shows that when you have data, you can do whatever you want with your data. So this is crucial thing, to have everything stored in, I would say, relational database. For me, even Mongo, we use it sometimes, is not a good source. Can be indexed, but not very efficient for big data sources. Okay, I explained single source of truth. And this is an example in, let's say, our system. You can connect with any database. I don't even want to put, but even in the heart is our business intelligence system, but you can use data from Excel, JSON, ERP, Oracle, Primavera, and Bexel as well, and create a combined dashboards. And here on the left-hand side, you see analytics for one company, let's say around 140 projects in the US, and all analytics of earned values, delays, and so on. But to be honest, also what we need to be aware. Do you know, maybe a question for all of you, how many of these projects are coming from BIM?
Zero.
Okay, someone said half, but in between, around 30%. We need to be aware that even the largest contractors are not going to deliver everything in BIM. So we need to combine data, because what's happening today, now I have 5 projects in BIM and 95 traditionally. I'm making transition. And still, I as the owner, I'm focusing on traditional reports. So then even my guys in BIM world needs more time to create me something more accurate. I'm waiting for a final report because of that. And 95% of data is coming from traditional project management. So that's why we created these types of dashboards where I combine 2 worlds. Of course, BIM is much more accurate, but I still need to know also delays and challenges and the cost, additional excess of cost on other projects as well. And to see this in a single source of truth, and in this particular case, data coming from Bexel and the traditional ones from Primavera or traditionally created in Bexel, Gantt charts are combined. And another interesting thing, when you finish a project, or you during your work on a project, you have, it was a question I had more than 10 years ago, who has to own a CD? And then the answer was each one needs to have its own because of data protection and all other things. I have a more simplified idea. So we are all working in the same CD. It could be on escrow account, so not controlled under any one of us or an independent provider. We have multiple admins, and whenever I want, I can just say, transfer all my data or data I'm allowed to transfer to my own copy of database and solution. So whenever, let's say, project is finished, I'm in a joint venture, I can easily transfer everything to my ecosystem and be immediately able to use it. So then I send a message to my guys on the site, you should do something better, but I don't want that owner see this. So I'm 100% sure that his admin cannot see my communication. Otherwise, I will use messages or WhatsApp or other sources of communication because I know this data is not or can be misused. So this is a very simple concept, and this is also very important. A lot of clients or software vendors tell you it's impossible. No, it is. It is possible. So about openBIM requirements, of course, Scott mentioned and Ricardo a lot of things about this. So I can tell you it's really best if you have everything stored in IFC, but also I will emphasize here also usage of BCF. And because today, when you ask people BCF, oh, I can use it for clashes. I think even today, 95% of all BCF usages is for clashes. I'm going to tell you much more. For safety issues, for TAC planning, for coordination of site, for tendering process, for a number of other things, for bill of quantities, all these things can be used, and BCF server can be used. So, but also what is mentioned today about incremental model. We at the end, it's shown here as a versioning and history. We really need, when I update the model, what I really want. Let's say I have a multi-billion project and I just change the windows in one part or one floor of the building. Do I really want to upload the entire new model? To analyze it again, no. It would be ideal if I can just upload the changes. And these are, okay, this is a basic. So what is a BCF about? It's to have a neutral platform and to be able to use this BCF in other tools, in this case, like Revit and Bexel CD and Bexel Manager. So I see the same information in a different platform, so I can solve the clashes across all my platforms. There are other solutions, of course, as well. But good, important thing is where data is stored in a BCF server database. In our case, in our server, but you have it, you easily can develop your add-in. It's through BCF data. What is today missing is we have certain part of communication, but not fully developed in BCF. We don't have a folder structure in BCF, which, for example, we had to implement because it does not exist. We don't have a documents, professionally stored related documents to BCFs. So they are still external as a property, not defined very well as a standard. So for us, documents were very important. That's why we have them as an addition to this. And the last, I need to connect my BCF to everything else. For example, Najib mentioned IFC task. Yes, I want to connect BCF not to the elements, but to the task, or IFC cost item, or tendering package, or safety issue, not just to the elements. So this is something that's our opinion, missing today. That's what we already implemented, but unfortunately we don't have a standard. So here are some examples as Najib asked, but they are much better. I'll share with you much more details. So this is an example how you can export data for 4D and 5D into IFC. There is definitely much more details, but this is what is possible. And it's easy and you can do it. The same for the cost. But what is missing, you will see later in levels of 4D and 5D. So I'll explain a bit why we are maybe mentioning 4D and 5D and mean different things. And if I may say also, maybe we will rebrand even our Bexel CD. Sometimes it creates confusion because oh, you have a document management system. That's, 95% of usage of CD today is for document sharing, not file sharing, not model sharing. That's today reality. And I know a lot of projects use some vendors, CDs without BIM. To be honest, this is not what we wanted to do. Okay, for document management, of course, what is very important to have access rights, to have a version control, number of other things, what I want to have. But I wanted to say again, who owns the documents? Who controls them? Ones who produce documents, one who's put documents on a CD. And next thing, I forgot to mention this, with AI is the same thing. I'm going to show you later AI. For example, to the clients, do not ask them to store data somewhere else. So first of all, you must be assured, or it's strongly suggested, that all data processed by AI is processed in internal system and stored in your vectors, now I'm technical thing, in your databases. Not someone else. No one can use your data in AI. I can tell you some of this, here is Ricardo, representatives of small companies, multi-billion, very successful companies. You know, they have more data and then the number of other things. So I can tell you one of our vendors put in our database, of course, under their control, more data than an entire university we have. So it's their data. You know how powerful AI is when you have all this data. So do not believe in the what they tell you, oh, I need to combine it with other information in order to create the perfect AI answer for you. No, your data is more than enough, especially if it's well structured. So this is an example, again, what is missing today as a concept we have natively from day one, documents connected with the elements. So I select the elements, I see all the issues, all document approvals, all safety issues related just to these elements. To be honest, I didn't know why a lot of systems have two worlds, BIM world, document management world. From day one, we had this, because, to be honest, I don't know why we call it CD if it's not connected like this. And it allows you will see a lot of benefits. Then, for example, this is an example, I want to have a document approvals and all other workflows. This is another thing missing in BCF. We use a BCF, but we need to develop extension. We don't have document approvals and workflows. So for example, when I approve document, I want to be copied to another folder. So we have everything else in a BCF. So if you load our data, you will be able to load all BCF, but this second approval and where to copy it, you will not be able to transfer to other tool because simply there is no standard for this. And that's what we need to also add as an extension to BCF. It's a natural process. Okay, digital signature, this is another interesting. With IDS, I think already Scott mentioned more or less everything. So this is really important, but I have to say, fit for purpose. Please, my suggestion to all of you, talking now from the top management perspective, do not put 200 properties in IDS checklist as a requirement because nobody wants this. What I will as an owner immediately ask you, show me all dashboards when you use them. If you don't use them, why? You put a huge pressure on designer or on other guys to do something you don't need. I can tell you we have that's really, sometimes you need just 15. So for example, in Bexel, we allow you when you publish data to CD to just choose important properties which will be stored on a CD or in database. Because sometimes I look at and try to find across 200 properties. I was very good when I was young in physics, but do you need all young modules for each steel element when you are doing the maintenance of your project? Just raise a hand who knows what young module is. But you have it in your data just because you click publish everything to the CD. Because you simply, okay, it's easy to do it. You should know what you want to achieve. And then I'd say it takes me a lot of ages to load the model on a low connected, low quality internet. I put 200 properties instead of 15, and I'm complaining why it takes me a minute to be loaded. It doesn't. So this is my suggestion. Next thing is, okay, this is IDS check, but again, connected with other things. So I can combine a cost of the elements, in this case, with IDS check. So I can put in a query, show me only the checks for the elements who are which are more expensive than €5. I really don't want to add the 200 properties to do every small wall. I want to add it on a big chiller or something else. So you can combine, or just I want to send information to subcontractor or to designer immediately. So if I have this information, I can send this data. Another huge challenge, I forgot to mention this in the beginning, what is one of the key ingredients is automation. So without automation, we are not going to be able to produce data. So if we need to manually create schedule, add resources, add quantities, add relationships, everything, and create 20,000 tasks, can I do it in Primavera? Yes. In project, Microsoft Pro, so. But am I going to do that? I saw around 5 to 10,000 schedules in my life. Never saw quantities in Primavera. On a desired detail level. Because it's manual work. And changes are the only constant thing we have in the project. So without automation, when we are not able to automatically do something and create a lot of information, we are not going to be successful. Just maybe you're not thinking in this way, but just to mention why we are using authoring tools. They are automation tools for us. Because we are not paying them for just, there are other even free tools where you can create manually slab by slab openings, really. But why we are paying them? Because they allow us to copy this. When I make one opening, I can make it across the other tools and systems. And this is why they are automation tools. So all this, ArchiCAD, Revit, Tekla, automated softwares. Because they create a lot of information for us automatically. And the same is, I will show you now in the planning process. So this is, let's say, one very long or old video, but how you in Bexcel have a similar office buildings, and you just load the template from a previous similar project, or your standardized for office building, as a template from your knowledge base. And this is relationships, it's called in Bexcel methodology. And the system will automatically create, in this particular case, around 4,000 tasks, which is not too much. Sometimes could be 25,000, but, or 50,000, but all elements have exact quantities and cost information. And you will see, I think, at the end of this video, how resource allocation charts look like. To do that manually takes ages. But what is the problem? Even if you do that, project design is changed, nobody will do it second time, nobody. So this is again another interesting thing, line of balance. But what is automation? Clash detection is automation. So we have it, Navis have it, Solibri have it. So, but this is again automation. All these things, without automation, we are not going to be successful. So this is example how you can level resources, have a line of balance, and you will see later in a progress, it's very useful. You can see resources on a monthly, weekly, daily level, so all cash flows, and then you can make adjustments and so on. So, but again, huge benefit is automation, and there are a number of automated, IDS check, of course, is again, automation. So this is, let's say, a 4D, 5D simulation, all cash flows, literally in 2 minutes. So just can tell you, we are not in football stadiums business, but we are really proud that for the last 20 years, in all football World Cups, Bexcel is used. I have to say now to Hassan, last week we had from NESMA at our global event, they presented 3 stadiums. So even in Saudi Arabia now, although they are preparing already very well for their stadiums, although the cup will be in 9 years. It will be. And they're doing iconic projects. Unfortunately, I cannot share this with you because we are under NDA, but really impressive. So all these things are, so rules of measurement, automation, cost estimate, automation, clash detection, automation. So when I have a module, rules of measurement, automatically to calculate the cost. Can I do it manually? I don't want to mention, very famous tool, very popular for 4D, 5D, and so on, where I manually connect the cost from Excel to the Can, but what is added value? Data is not coming from BIM, but from Excel and then transferred manually. So issue management requirements. As I said, basis should be BCF, but we need to have some additions. So documents has to be attached, specific version of documents, because then I can create a transmittal based on BCF or submittal. And this is what is today missing. So I cannot have a submittal with two-level document approval in BCF. So that, do I want to have it? Sure. We, as I said, had to around BCF develop this as additional. What we want, a checklist, a number of other things. So, but these are examples how you can do this. Of course, you need to have search, analytics on a portfolio level and so on. This is an interesting thing. I will say I really like it very much. So this is how you can connect the task planning. So what Najib mentioned, you have a Gantt chart and a task planning. So they are not the same level of granularity and detail. But what is really cool, let's say in this example, you can connect BCF issues with your tasks on site. So for example, I can say that predecessor for these works is that documents are approved. So if they are not approved, they're going to automatically be postponed for the next week. Or if there is any safety issue, I can say I cannot work there because it's a critical. I have to tell you there is no ideal world. Of course, always our clients immediately say, but can I override this? Can I still work on site even if there is a safety issue? Or can I still work on site even documents are not approved? And of course, we allow them this, but they have to manually do that. So to say ignore warnings, so they could be a bit more liable. But next thing is connect BCF issues with, for example, the tact discussion for next week. I really want to have a history that someone as a superintendent told me you should do that, or you should solve all these clashes in that way. I don't want that they call me and then I do it in that way, something went wrong, and he said, no, you didn't get it. I want to have a traceability. So what I can tell you from my experience, I realized people want trust. They don't want to cheat each other. They want to trust to someone else and to have a fair communication. And then they are focused on really deliver excellent project. You know that I learned from IPMA, what is the value of the trust today in the world, in business-wise? Maybe I will make a mistake, not exact number. Professor I discussed with, she did a really huge study, 34 trillion US dollars on annual level is the value of trust. That's how much money we spend checking and not believing each other. And if we have transparency, this could be a huge game changer. If I can check what you said, if I can verify that the quantities are accurate, if I can see, as you can see in task planning, one of the key things is that I am assured that in this room, this week, only, or first 3 days, only I will be there. So there are not going to be others. So it shows us in line of balance or task planning style, who is in which, where, in which location, when. And if I can be assured that this is like that, then I can tell my guys, do really focus to do it efficiently, not do it, because everything else will be prepared for you. For clash management, of course, it was said, but I will just mention some of the things. So what I want, clash matrix, to load it, to automatically perform clashes, and to, I have to say, also have it on the cloud and to be able to communicate and solve the clashes directly on the cloud. I can tell you this, all tools which are not cloud-based for clash resolving process and so on, communication, to be honest, I strongly suggest them to go there because everything about clash is collaboration. So without this, so you need to have interactive dashboards where you can change your priorities, everybody can see it. And then again, what is let's say in our case, just select certain clashes or clash groups, create BCF and send to the all stakeholders. Again, use open standard. So not as an independent message, not based on a BCF. So I strongly suggest to all software vendors, use BCF for your communication, not your internal systems, because the others can then benefit from this. And this is an example how you can see all the clashes. You can even do cool things like start 4D simulation where you see clashes, but also dashboards are very important on the right-hand side so that I can see all the clashes and analytics of all of them immediately. I'm going to mention certain things about BI analytics and our experience related to this. Then version compare. I'll tell you, I am surprised when we developed our version compares. First, I want to compare entire model, not just single file versus single file. And the second thing, I want that it is really neutral based on IFC. There are some tools telling you you can do a version compare, but when you can test it, it only works if it's developed in their authoring tool. Sorry, I have to say it is much better if it's I can check why I need to have, why I cannot check Tekla or ArchiCAD in my tool or versions. So no, it has to be neutral. So version compare must be based on open standards, and just some things we added also to add ability to add, for example, properties. So I can see not just changes, what's updated, deleted, moved, and so on, but also can add any property, again, based on IFC. So see if the volume is increased, if the cost of these elements is increased, and organize it according to any level. So per subcontractor, per designer, per trade, and see all this analytics. And of course, again, on all sources I have in a project, not a single one. I have to say also mobile is very important, especially for democratization of usage of BIM. But I will show you some examples now. So let's say this is our application for document management and open BCF's issues. So you can see all your projects, see issues, create what's situated on site. Can you load Bexel CD model here? Theoretically, yes. But it's like with Excel. Is it really, unless you have at least tablet, user-friendly to open a model here? My opinion is not. Can I enter, select the elements on a mobile? Easy, not. But can I track the progress on subtask level or certain very important things? I can. So my suggestion is tablet should be a minimum size. As you can see, I see all the documents. I can see screenshots from the BIM model. I can see all these things. But to load the BIM model on this level of small interface, for me, it's really not very user-friendly on a very, that's my opinion. But opening documents, having document approvals, know directly on site what I have to know for the next week works. This is something really I would love to have. So also cool things are I can make photos, there is safety issue directly connected to the BCF server, and then when I'm on my desktop or tablet, then I can make connections to the real elements. That's what we suggest as a workflow, because I don't know, I can show you on a mobile how you can open any of our CDs, but is it user-friendly to work on a multi-billion project on a mobile? Not very. So, but definitely mobile applications, I have to say, are very important, because they democratize communication, document approvals, everybody could raise a question, safety issue, everything else. This really helped a lot, because at the end, it must be used by everyone, not just by the experts or gurus. Okay, so, this is, let's say, how any issue can be generated, and you can, as a checklist, send to someone. Quantity takeoff, again, want to create according to any rules, any classification, quantity takeoff. And a lot of tools, again, common document environment, common data environment. Common data should be able to do it very easy, especially if the data is stored in a database. It should be straightforward. The same goes with the cost estimate. So in this particular case, you can see isolated only one apartment. What properties are used? We used IFC to recognize which elements belong to which apartment. And below, it's very small. We see a bill of quantities just for the works in that apartment. There are tools which, when you highlight some elements, they cannot tell you the price because they know only the top level price, that something costs 100 billion. But when you select single element, they say, I don't know. For me, this is not 5D. And these are, we don't have so much time, but you will have all these slides. This is my slide I posted, I think, 9 years ago, maybe I'm wrong, maybe 5 years ago, which says cost estimate level 1, have manually calculated everything in Excel. Level 2, maturity level, 0 is manually. Then 1 is you do again manually calculations in Excel and then connect it with the elements. What is the benefit? For me, 0. Can I see any errors? No. And then level 2 and level 3 are really BIM-based quantity takeoffs and cost estimations. What is the benefit? Automation. Whenever you change something in design, it's automatically gonna change bill of quantities. And then we can cope with the changes. Otherwise, not at all. Tendering and bidding requirements. Again, of course, but just show you 2 interesting showcases when you combine two or 3 data domains. So this is a building. This is tendering packages and subcontractors. And now you see statistics, because you have also 4D, when the first element of 2 which cause collision will be built on site. So we see that in April, May, and June, we already have a lot of elements built. Clash is not going to occur because second element is going to be built later. And on another chart, in a dashboard, we see when really clashes are going to occur on site, when second element is going to be built, and it's going to start mostly from August, September, and so on. And this is colors are coming from subcontractors. So we know to whom we should address these issues. Directly coming from a database and business analytics. You don't need to do any rocket science because you have all these data domains connected. And this is on another side, the cash flow per bidding package and subcontractor. So again, combine BIM, cost, and bidding and TAC planning here in a single ecosystem. For planning, there are a million of things we want to achieve in order to have a professional planning. Unfortunately, in our buildingSMART, we do not talk too much about planning, but for the contractors, this is a key. Now, Najib knows this very well, but all of you, this is a key for your success. And not why we are not talking about this, honestly, it's difficult. It's much easier to talk about data checks. So this is for football stadiums, how it is reused on number of projects. But okay, I will skip this. So what is very important to have also ability to have a teamwork on a cloud when you're doing the planning. So this is very nice to have feature for planning and some other things. But I will skip this. Again, for planning, you have also different levels. Manually created in Primavera and attached to the tasks. To the elements in a BIM model. Okay, not rocket science. For me, it's maturity level 1. Second, I have a script which automatically connect this. Okay, it's time saving, but the quality of scheduling, it's again manually created in P6. Whenever I change design, I need to manually change this. Does it have quantities? No. Does it have costs? No. And as I said, there are other levels where, based on methodology, system can automatically generate schedules which can be then exported to P6 if you want. So this is what we want. I as you know, call this Hollywood BIM, but this is for next Expo projects or relatively large project. But this simulation from a pure BIM model took, just to generate initial schedule, took 5 minutes. To optimize resources, it took 4 hours. And for this, to export to Unreal Engine and to run it, it took more than a day. So it took almost 2 days. But what is the benefit really? Whenever the client wants to see this, literally they call the contractor on, I don't know, Wednesday, we want to have it on our next meeting with minister on Friday, you can have it with the updated videos and everything else. Task planning, I will mention this is important thing. Also connection between schedule should be on strategic level, but I don't want to use the same level of granularity on site. I want to have much more detailed information on site. So for example, in this particular case, one single task for painting building or partition walls on one floor of the building is what planner, if we are happy, will do. Sometimes he will say partition walls in entire building as a single task. But what I really want to do to split this automatically, I can use BIM properties in which apartment certain partition wall is, to be assured to have a much more detailed information for guys on site. So on Monday morning, you should work in this apartment, Tuesday, go to that apartment, and so on. So that's really what we want to have, and you know all this. We have a sticker system in Europe used frequently, but I want to have a connection between Gantt chart change something in one way, I can directly change in another. And this is how progress can be entered. So really on a granular level. So even with your mobile, you can just select, I finished partition walls in that apartment. And so I can track progress on a mobile on a very efficient way and very accurate way. Okay, what also we want to have, add all missing tasks to the task planning. So a lot of times barriers or any safety things is not in Gantt chart, but I want to have this information on site. So we need to add a lot of additional details on site. And I show you some integration. Now, the end of my presentation, what are the final results? So one thing is how you can combine this. In a small video, you will see a look ahead plan for the next week, how you check if all documents are approved, if safety issues are there, if what are the clashes remaining, what are the quantities of works, and how you can fine-tune the activities which you are going to execute next week. It's called the last planner system, which ensures that all ingredients necessary for execution in a certain zone are there and met before you start execution of the works. Why clashes? You will see in the video why clashes are still there. Because I never saw a project bigger than a shed which is clash-free. So, but if I send to subcontractors, here are the clashes which are not solved, take care about them, be ready, bring boring machines with you and drillers or so on. It's going to cost them less and so on. So you will see all this so it starts from a Gantt chart, which has all resources, quantities connected automatically with the BIM model, everything done automatically, not manually. Then you select some tasks for a certain subcontractor, and you see all these tasks are there. But now a single task for entire floor, he will split to the apartments. So he will create 8 tasks for a single task in a Gantt chart. And again, what we use? Properties in IFC. So everything based on open standard. You can reorder, for example, the apartments and common area. I will start from that apartment, second, third one. And now you see all this is in a central task planning for the next week. You can see per zone, per per type of activity. And whenever you select the elements, just filter and see a cost and quantities of all items related just to the works I have in that apartment at that week. And whenever you go up and down, you see how this is connected. So another is BCF issues. So filter BCF issues based on a selected small group of elements. So now you can see safety issues, latest approved drawings, everything but just related to this apartment, not to the other, because this is the true value of connected BIM. And now the clashes. Now I want to see that there are, I don't know, some, I cannot read well, still 15 clashes in that apartment which are not solved. And I can create a BCF, send this to the subcontractor and said, now it's too late, but be aware, these are remaining clashes. I did everything I can. So I send you safety issue, send you the latest approved drawings, and send you all remaining clashes and quantities. So what do you want from me? Then I can really ask, expect, and then there is another thing, of course, you can optimize schedule, make it much shorter because granularity is much higher. In attack planning, as you can see, literally, it's much more condensed than if it's on a high level. Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, I haven't noted. Okay, I will just finish, give me just 2-3 minutes, sorry about that. So progress tracking, I will, again, be able in the same manner on element or task level to do a progress tracking. You see a slides, dashboards are there and so on, but this is really important, again, to be available in an efficient way. And then for business intelligence and AI, so you have a project version or portfolio level. So these are examples on a project level, project version level, or portfolio level. That's what you want to have with your system. And then you can see various dashboards. If I may say, one thing is business intelligence. We worked a lot with Power BI, but it's better if you have your in-house systems. It's much faster, much more flexible. It's based on your access rights. So if you have access just to 70 of your projects, you don't need to create another dashboard because based on a roles level security, dashboards will be generated across to your access rights. And it's, of course, much faster because it's run in your ecosystem. So these are examples when you can combine a different, in this case, Primavera, ERP, and Vexel data together. Because everything is stored in databases without APIs, direct connection of data. These are some examples with delay analysis and so on. And this is an interesting example. Again, you can have Excel, which tells you what are the apartments which are rented, which are not. And again, a dashboard. So you can combine any data source, or this could be a property in IFC. So these are, okay. And I will just show you at the end with AI. Sorry, give me, I hope it's not too boring. So one thing is how, for example, you can ask the system, show me what you want with AI. So one thing is to analyze your data. If it's coming from database, it's much more efficient than if it's coming from just pure documents. So in this case, you ask the system, show me how I need to speed up the process in order to meet the milestone for concrete works to be finished as the planned. And it shows you where you need to increase productivity, and good thing is create the dashboards. But wanted to move, and then you can run a simulation and so on. But wanted to go to the documents and AI. So you can also process documents on AI level with AI. But very important thing is that you need to ask, to train the system, and the answers are not going to be always perfect as with the database. In this particular case, based on a weekly progress report, system really very accurately give you the answer when the certain works are finished. system can also tell you user manual varies for a certain chiller and so on. These things can be done perfectly. But when you ask a system without database, show me areas of the kitchens on the 15th floor, sometimes can give you a right answer. Sometimes if the two kitchens are the same size, AI can skip one of them because he said, you already told me the size of that kitchen, so he considered this as the double the same information. So then you can need to ask him additional questions. So, but again, data has to be on your premises. Sorry about delay. Thank you.
Thank you, Veljko. Well, we reached the time. Nevertheless, if maybe we can get one question or observation. Please. No, there is people connected, so that's why it's important the mic.
Only a small comment, Rachele from Italy. So this kind of presentation is super wow, especially for the people that has no expertise in openBIM and construction. I have only two comments. The first one is related to the possibility to reuse the information because all of this is kind of inside Bexcel. But I mean, there are a lot of, we have text Bexcel, you know, we have the license as a research center. And so there is, for example, kind of issue related to the export of IFC version, like we've mentioned IFC 4.3 and so on. And so, and there are, we super like the part related to the IFC cost, for example, that there are very few IFC viewer that support all of these complex relations, and this is a pity. And I like the comment that you have done related to the fact that software vendors has to support all of this, the data model, not only kind of the easiest one. And the second comment is related, yes, to this, to the possibility to reuse the information. And so the environment of openBIM is very complex. We need, as Scott said before, so also that the people is aware of the possibility of the data schema. So until we don't have IFC 5 and so on, all of this fancy thing. But so, I mean, it's really complicated, especially if we are not talking about private client, but public client that, of course, need also to have kind of the stock of the information, not keeping the environment on a single openBIM environment. But I mean, it's we love, you know, we use Bexcel, but I mean, there are this issue. And the second thing is related to the BCF, and I totally agree the comment that you have done related to the fact that there are a lot of companies that has to kind of create personalization of the BCF stuff. We have done this in a European project related to construction, using BCF also for the planning of LiDAR stuff and so on, which is, I think, the same path. But again, it's very complex then to reuse the information on different platforms if there is no standardization on this the same way.
So thank you very much. I have to say you are also, what you are doing inspiration for me, and we always learn a lot from all of you, and I really like what you did in your research. First of all, maybe as a student, we will correct this now with additional exposure to student and academic licenses, so you will be able to see everything in a database. You can use it in any way, and we still have to finalize now certain tweaks, honestly speaking, based on your suggestions regarding extending IFC export. But yeah, you will have a full database, fully accessible, and of course, owner always have a full database with all data available.
Well, thank you very much. An interesting comment and discussion. Just before to say goodbye, so tomorrow, just a reminder, tomorrow we'll have a second session about the quality management of BIM in construction, in the construction phase. So it's quite interesting. This presentation will address the quality management of BIM during the construction phase, which is not clearly defined in ISO 19650. The goal is to align the IDS workflow with the ISO project data management, and to enhance the BIM data quality control. The proposal advocates for a coordinated approach by integrating IDS workflows with ISO 19650 project data management. This ensures consistent high-quality BIM data throughout the construction lifecycle, supporting better decision-making and long-term data usability. So it's going to be also quite interesting session. So we'll invite you to come here tomorrow or let know to your peers or other people. So thank you very much for your participation and enjoy the break.